I'm on my way into the Alaskan backcountry where I will build a shelter, make a bow and arrow, and hunt for my food to find out if I can survive in the Alaskan wilderness. The snow is really crusty. It snowed a bunch, and then it got above freezing, and then froze last night. And so now I'm walking on about 8 inches of crusty ice. But it makes the walking pretty easy. I don't need snowshoes or anything. It's just super loud. I learned about the birch bark trick from the book Hatchet. And I've become so reliant on birch bark that I don't know that I could start fire in a place where it doesn't grow, especially if it was wet outside. I see a lake through the trees. I don't have any fishing gear or even a way to break the ice, but for some reason camping next to a lake sounds comforting, so I'm gonna make my way around it. I also need a spot that has plenty of supplies for building my shelter. Sure would make travel a lot easier if I trusted this ice. I think it's just like a thin layer that's melting on top. It looks pretty thick. I don't like early ice. It's been above freezing for quite a long time. I hate that sound. I think I'm gonna get off the ice. I don't like it. Some fresh moose nuggets. Vegan coffee beans, as they say. Lucky break, found some cranberries. Cranberries are better in the winter or early spring because all the sugar goes to the berry when it gets cold outside. I think this is it. Okay, let me show you everything I brought. Day pack. It's been seasoned and then chewed up by my dogs. It's a 20-liter pack. I brought a water bottle, a hat, a sleeping bag, a bow saw, machete. I brought a little coffee pot so that I can melt snow and boil water and cook in this, I guess. String and wire. I also brought ramen noodles, one for each day. I would like to have brought 0 food. That would be really cool. But since I'm not allowed to hunt moose, the only thing I can really get after is snowshoe hare, and you can't survive off of snowshoe hare. So I just figured I'd bring some carbs to supplement. Empty backpack, hat, gloves, machete, wire, water bottle, string, pot, ramen noodles, sleeping bag, jacket, bow saw. I think this is a really cool spot. You can look over the lake. There's moose tracks everywhere. Not that that does me any good, but just kind of cool. And it's a burn area, so I should have lots of supplies for building. And then there's spruce, like live spruce right there. Cool spot. Let's get to work. The days are short. I forgot to show you this, but this is really important. My machete has a little fire starter in it. Just one of those for Assyrian rods, you know? So it's not a lighter, but it's better than nothing. See that? Nice and straight lumber. I feel like I'm at Home Depot. All of these trees died in a fire probably about 5 years ago. And that's good for the forest. It lets all the light in and you see all the tall grass that's poking out of the snow. That wouldn't be able to grow here unless there was a fire. And there's also all these new growth aspens and birch trees and stuff. Super good for the moose. And super good for building forts. I feel like a little kid. That's called a barber chair. And if it was a bigger tree, that'd be dangerous because it could come up and hit me. Got my measuring stick. That's 5 feet right there. Okay, so I'm going to take 3 of these and make a tripod. That's pretty cool. Grab some string, sharp machete. You guys see that bull moose? The snow does a pretty good job holding those in. So this is the frame. I'll sleep in here. I want to line this side with logs, and then I might do some in the front too, just to retain some of my heat. But the wind's coming from the back side. When it's this cold out, I don't expect rain, obviously. Snow wouldn't be a big deal. So the biggest environmental factor I'm protecting myself from is wind. It's off to a pretty good start, but I am going to need a lot more wood. I'm going to go walk around, and if I can find some of these dead ones, like see that tree, one giant dead tree, and it's got a pretty thick base. Probably take me more cutting time, but it'll fill in a lot better. Pretty cool. Now I'm gonna need some bedding. I'll probably have to do one more tree so I can have a wall in front. But I'm getting tired of cutting down those kinds of trees, so I'm gonna go cut down some spruce boughs instead. I want to sort them by size. Here's a big one. Need to push everything in closer to the log. This is nice. I almost want to say that this is more comfortable than an air mattress. A pillow would be good though. Gonna process some firewood real quick. Try the machete saw. There's a saw on the back of this. The bow saw is better. Everything takes so much time. I can't imagine how much wood I would need to get through the whole night. I don't think I'll plan on doing that. I think I'll just cook, and then since I have a sleeping bag, I don't really need a fire all night. But at the same time, nights are long, so if I want to process stuff in the dark, that's fine too. I've got my kindling. I got slightly bigger than a pencil and then almost wrist size. In order for the birch bark to catch a spark, it's going to have to be so thin. Make tiny little flakes like fish food. Once you get through the top layer of snow, it's not so dirty. It's kind of dirty. It's probably going to take 8 of those to make 1 pot of water. But our fire's going great. You need more time in the day. Up here in Alaska, the days get real short in the wintertime. And we only have about 5 hours of daylight right now, and it took me 4 to build the shelter. It's nice and warm in here. When I go out, freezing cold because of the wind. And I can feel a little bit of wind coming in through some of the bigger gaps, but the shelter is super nice. Tomorrow is all about food. I would like to try and make a bow and arrow. That would be cool. I'll set traps first, and who knows, I might not catch anything during the daytime. Rabbits are mostly nocturnal, even though I do see them around a lot in the day. But now that I got my shelter built, I basically have all day tomorrow to collect food. See you guys in the morning. It's nice of the moon to poke its head out. I think I'm gonna go collect some firewood under moonlight and start a fire. Should be bright in 2 hours. Time to go set some traps. I just saw a rabbit. I don't have a weapon yet, so can't really do anything about it, but it's still good to see them. There's a really nice rabbit highway right here that I want to set a trap on. It's kind of hard to see them right now because the snow is so crusty that they're not leaving marks, but this one's been used a bunch. The rabbits shoot up through here and they go right next to that big tree. So I'm going to go set a trap right in there. That's the wire I'm using. See it? It's just pre-cut about maybe 12 to 18 inches. And then I make a little loop in one end, slide this through the loop, and then you've got a slip knot, right? So the rabbit goes through there and it tightens up on them. I have a whole video on snaring. I spent a whole week setting traps every day and I learned a lot. So I'm really hoping I can transfer that knowledge to this new area. I think rabbit trapping is like 50% location, like what area you're in and how dense the rabbit population is. Trap number 3. And then it's like 30% sets, you know, like how you set your traps and making sure everything's perfect. And then 20% luck. And luck can work in a lot of ways. It can be in your favor and a rabbit just happens to go through your trap, or it can be not in your favor and coyotes steal your stuff. Alright, that was my final trap set. So now I've got to find something that I can make a bow and arrow out of. And I haven't been seeing much. Kind of frustrated a little bit. Maybe an arrow. See if I can find another one. Alright, 3 arrow shafts that need to be worked on. Now we can work on finding the bow. I think that this right here is going to be the perfect tree to make a bow out of. I'll cut it taller than I am. Okay, back to the shelter. Home sweet home. This is a yellow birch tree. I've made a handful of bows out of yellow birch trees before, but never in one single day. I think that the trick is going to be fire hardening. The first thing I want to do is I want to measure out 66 inches. I think the best way to do that would be to measure my wingspan, which would be 6'2" minus 8, which is about what my hand is. Right there. Now I gotta find center. I'll also make the bowstring out of this material, so make it a little longer than necessary. So I'm gonna lay this out the length of the bow, and then I'm gonna bend it in half. And that's center, right there. Now I'm gonna hold the machete like this and use it as a draw knife. So I brace that against my chest, pinch it between my knees, and then just peel away strips. Check this out. It keeps wanting to slide back towards me, so I tied a knot around the center and then a loop, and so I can put my foot in here and hold the bow away from me, and then when I'm pulling with the knife, it doesn't slide towards me. I've got a nice line down there, down the center. Now I'm just going to hack away. I need to make this half as thick. It's bending a little bit. That doesn't look half bad. Not half bad. The left side's a little stronger. It's alright. I think this side's the stiffer of the two. The next step is to dry it out with fire. The bow will get a lot stronger as it dries. You can actually cook it and get it like golden brown, and what that does is it crystallizes the cells on the belly of the bow. Birch in general is way better in tension, so stretching, than it is in compression. And the back side of a bow is stretching, but the underside of the bow is being compressed. So it's important to really dry out the belly fibers, or else I would bend it and then it would just stay bent because it would get crushed on the underside. So this is going to take the rest of the day, just drying out this bow. So for my arrows, these little spruce pieces, I sharpened the points, and I'm gonna fire harden the tips. And then for the part that attaches to the bowstring, it's called a nock. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my machete and try and center it up, and then baton it down. I'm going to take a piece of string, just like 6 inches, and now I'm going to stuff the string into that little groove that I made where I started splitting it. This is what I'm going to use as bowstring, so it doesn't need to be any wider than the string itself. And then I'll just wrap it around a couple times so it doesn't split any further. Really tight. Make sure I get it really tight. Now I've got a fire hardened arrow point, it's still kind of glowing. And then I've got my nocks, which should fit on the string perfect because there's already a piece of string in there. And mostly straight piece of spruce. It's actually really straight. Nocks to hold the string. Very simple. I'm just using that same string. It's bank line. It looks all right. First shot. The drier I make this, the faster it'll shoot and the stronger it'll be to pull. So I'm just going to keep messing with it all night long, just back and forth and back and forth. See you in the morning. 25 degrees is the best temperature. Everything's dry, but it's not that cold. I would let it be 25 from October 1st to April 30th, and then 65 for the rest of the year. Those are my two favorite temperatures. There's the bow. The bow's not bad, but not having fletchings on my arrows I think is gonna be a real problem. In the book Hatchet, he makes a bow out of a tree just like this, and I think he eventually got a grouse or a rabbit with his bow and arrow too. But he talked about how poorly the arrows flew because he didn't have feathers. I don't have feathers either. I think it's bright enough to go check traps. I'm just going to spread out my fire. Just like Jurassic Park is actually a movie about that doctor guy discovering that he likes kids, this is actually a movie about me conquering my fear of ice. Trap number 1 is empty. This trap was bumped out of the way. Another trap pushed up and out of the way. The title of this video will be, I went vegan for 3 days. Because I'm not catching anything. This one got pushed out of the way too. I saw a rabbit somewhere in this group of trees. They're everywhere. I just saw 3. They think they're invisible, so they sit pretty tight. But if you look at them, they scamper off. I'm down to my last arrow. I lost 2 trying to get after these. There's a bunch in here. My arrows really suck though. Let's see if I can find one more to lose this last arrow at. I'm seeing a lot of rabbits, but right now I feel like I would have more luck chasing one with a snare than trying to shoot him with this bow. It's not the bow's fault, it's the arrows. And I will be back with a better bow and arrow setup that I made, probably my hickory. My last trap is somewhere right over here. Empty. Well, I didn't catch any rabbits, and I'm out of ramen noodles. So I guess that means it's time to go clean up camp and call this challenge complete. I was able to make a pretty awesome shelter. Water was easy. I just melted snow. And food. Food was what got me. I think I'm gonna go home, eat some real food, and come back out here with my hickory bow and try and hunt these rabbits. That sounds like fun.